below in the comments. And before we get into this episode of Quiet Storm Sports, a Baltimore Ravens show on PRP, the Purple Rain podcast, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel because we got a lot to get into tonight. This is Quiet Storm Sports. Yes. We are back in full effect with another episode of Quiet Storm Sports on the Purple Rain podcast YouTube channel. I want to welcome everybody back to this episode whatever it is. I don't number these shows, but maybe I should. I got to go back and start looking at some stuff. But like I said, we got some things to discuss tonight, folks, right? And I had to get all, you know what I'm saying? I had to get all, suave. We're going to go with Suave Sutton for the night. You know what I'm saying? I got a little nice shirt on today. Got my cowboy hat because I got some things to say, y'all. I got some things to say, and hopefully you do too. If you do, be sure to chime down in the chat box right now. Chime it off. Let me know you are here. Again, if you're part of the replay gang on this one, shout out to you for coming out to another episode here on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel as well. That helps us out so much here at PRP, especially here in the off season. We're getting ready to wrap up February, and the combine is underway now. So you have guys like EDC, who we talked a little bit about yesterday, what he said about Lamar Jackson's contract situation. He talked about Tyler Linderbaum. He talked about a bunch of different things. But I purposefully left out what was said from Jesse Minter, all right, because I wanted to go ahead and cover that today. So that's what we're going to do. Now, here's my thing, right? What we have to take stock of here is the following. We are in the dead of the offseason, and some things might seem like we're reading into it a little bit too much. But the fact of the matter is, this offseason for Ravens fans is extremely special and unique because, in large part, because this is a brand new coaching regime. Right? So any little thing that, whether it be Jesse Minter, whether it be Declan Doyle, whether it be Anthony Weaver, whether that be, Israel Woolfolk, the quarterback's coach, Dwayne Ledford, the O-line's coach, we're reading into it because it's not just the same old Ravens. Shout out to Eric Weddle, right? It's not just the same old Ravens. This is a brand new regime, and we got to see what they're talking about, man. We got to see what they're talking about. Steve-O's in the chat, says, good evening, PRP. What up, Steve-O? Appreciate you for coming through. Again, make sure you sound off in the chat as you get in here watching live with me here on this episode of Quiet Storm Sports. But first, let's go ahead and switch over and see what Coach Minter was talking about to Rich Eisen about Lamar Jackson running more or less.
Interview room with you at one point?
We were on a Zoom.
Okay.
And so that was cool. He wanted to hear my vision, for him, the offense, the team.
What is that that you're willing to share?
Yeah, I think it's a really well-connected team that plays team football, that cares about each other, that plays for each other on the field, an offense that takes advantage of his skill set, but also has plays off of plays. It's a very systematic approach that we can take some pressure off of him in the run game by handing the ball to Derrick Henry as many times as possible.
You had a big smile on your face as you said his name.
Excited about that.
Right.
And so really just building a system that allows him to thrive and be the MVP caliber player that he's been.
Run more?
I don't know that he needs to run more. I actually think there's times where he can run less. If you build an offense that takes advantage of the under center, the downhill run game, now that opens up a lot of boots and play actions and plays. And then, the great quarterbacks have that ability on the key play to execute the second play. So the first play is maybe not there. It's not the perfect play call. Now he can take advantage of that with his athleticism, his skill set. That's what he's always been able to do.
Yeah.
And will continue to be able to do.
Which is, listen, I understand the sensitivity of this question, or this subject matter with him about running. We're here in Indianapolis where he refused to run. on purposefully, and it made sense. Where it's just like, hey, you want a quarterback? I'm your guy, okay? And Ozzie Newsome and the Ravens were the ones who said, we get it. We're going to trade up in the first round and get that 5th year of contractual control. We believe in you, and we're going to get you up and running, literally and figuratively. But I mean, he is in this league where the two-way threat. You, as somebody who's built to try and stop that stuff, knows how much of an advantage it would be to you to get him to do both. And the question is how do you do it? Does he want to do it? Do you want to tell your new OC, we have to do it? And that's the question that I
think there's high leverage moments where the quarterback's willing to do what he needs to do to win the game or win the play or whatever it might be.
Right.
And then I think there's times where you got to, this is a franchise player. This is a guy you want to be the quarterback for a long, long time.
Yes.
And so there's a health element and a protection element that needs to be in place to where.
Asmodeus, appreciate you reing up on the membership here in the Rain Gang, celebrating 10 months of membership. Shout out to you, brother. Says, yo, you look like Jay Lethal from TNA who acted like Randy Savage. Hey, man, just trying to do a little bit something different, right? We're going Suave Sutton tonight. Right? With a little side of cowboy, right? But let's listen up to Jesse Minter. Let's finish what he had to say.
Not taking some of the hits that he doesn't need to. So I think it's a great balance there. You want him to be what's made him great. I think you look at Mahomes and Josh Allen and all those type of quarterbacks that can make that second play. And so he's certainly up there, in that stratosphere. And again, it's like, can we make the offense help him? And then to where when he does have to do that, he has that opportunity to do that.
All right. So you heard it there from Jesse Minter, right? Basically, he's saying that he feels like Lamar Jackson can have less designed runs and more opportunities to, give the ball to Derrick Henry, get the ball downfield to his pass catchers, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and whoever else is catching passes for the Ravens come 2026 season. And it sounds like, and let me just say this, it kind of sparked some controversy in the fan base. And even within myself, I had to kind of reflect on this past season that the Ravens just had, right? And there were a lot of instances where Lamar Jackson was in the game and you would see a lot of read option plays where Lamar catches the ball out of the gun and he has the opportunity to either hand it off to Derrick Henry or keep it for himself and get around to the boundary, right? Which we've seen him do his entire career. But this season was a little bit different, right? And you can say it had a lot to do with the injury because I would agree with you, okay? But what we saw was defenses no longer respecting the threat of Lamar Jackson taking off with his legs. They were no longer being honest, right? And holding that outside linebacker and making him hesitate for an extra second to see if Lamar Jackson took it to the outside. Too many times did you see Derrick Henry get the ball and have to check his feet in the backfield, right? Check his feet mean hesitate before he can just go, right? And because guys like Daniel Fa'alele and Andrew Voorhees, and I got to throw Linderbaum in there too, because those guys weren't making lanes, Henry had to hesitate. And what you saw was a lot of outside linebackers, even some safeties who were rolling down towards the line of scrimmage, tackle Derrick Henry from the backfield, from that backside when they crash down the line of scrimmage. They're not respecting Lamar keeping. So I'm just going to crash down on Derrick Henry and wrap up his legs before he can go anywhere. That led to a boatload, and I mean a boatload, of short yardage runs for Derrick Henry. And so when I hear Jesse Minter say that Lamar Jackson should run less, it does kind of get me up in arms just for a second. Because I'm like, wait, no, Lamar Jackson, the best thing about Lamar Jackson, I mean, as great of a passer as he is in this day and age, as great of a passer as he is, his X factor still remains the same. that rushing ability is second to none. And it's not quite like anything that we have seen before. Like nothing we've seen before from any other quarterback. I mean, you can add in the Michael Vicks of the world. You can take it back to the Steve Youngs. You can take it a little bit more recent to the Cam Newtons, the Russell Wilson when he was doing his thing. Nobody, no quarterback. Hell, Kyler Murray, who he's looking like he's on a fast track to divorcing with the Cardinals and vice versa. No other quarterback has offered what Lamar Jackson has offered with his legs. I'm going to get into that a little bit more. I want to get into that a little bit more. But if you are up in arms about Jesse Minter saying Lamar could actually run less, I have some things to share with you because I don't think it's a horrible idea. It's not a horrible idea. It sounds jarring, but it's not terrible. Shout out to you guys in the live chat. Before I keep going here, again, if you're part of the replay gang on this one, which means you're watching the replay of this live stream, hello, shout out to you. My name is Sutton Def, in case you didn't know. Shout out to the first-time listeners. Shout out to the last-time listeners. But this is Quiet Storm Sports on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. If you could, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel as well. That is free and helps us out a whole lot here at PRP. Stretch 52 is in the house. Gives me the salute. Howdy, partner. Dre is in the chat, says, what's up, Sutton and PRP gang? Howdy, howdy. Appreciate you for coming through. Ashley, one of our members in the chat, leaving the hearts. What up, Ashley? Appreciate you for coming through as well. Let me see. Before we get into some of these takes, I see Glaucoma saying Lamar should run more. And part of me agrees, but let me get to my take here in a second. James C13 says he doesn't need the design runs. He can take off and run from scrambles. I 100% think this season was because of the injuries. He was hurt since week 1. Ed Oliver hit. And the big thing was, we want to keep Lamar Jackson protected. Like, because when he runs, when he becomes a runner, he's getting upfield, he's scampering upfield. He is liable to get hit. Right? But what I want to remind you of is that Lamar Jackson is nothing like Jaden Daniels. Lamar Jackson is nothing like Jackson Dart. And what I mean by that is that Lamar Jackson knows how to not take big hits. And this is where I kind of question, like, Jesse, how much Lamar tape have you really watched? I'm not like, don't just watch 2025. Because that'll tell you. I mean, he was a little bit timid with running and things like that. That'll tell you, okay, we don't want to get this guy out of the pocket too much. We don't want him scampering downfield. Right? But if you look at the entirety of his career and look at the film, whenever Lamar Jackson is in a position where he's got defenders closing in on him as he's running, he is agile enough and elusive enough to twist and contort and basically kind of shift his body so he gets hit on his own terms. Very, very rarely do you see Lamar Jackson. Very, very rarely do you see Lamar Jackson taking big hits, when he's going to the boundary, or big hits when he's running up midfield. He knows how to get down. He's not the best slider, but he really doesn't need it, right? He's so elusive that you just cannot stick a big hit on him. He's just not there to be hit like that. Again, Lamar Jackson goes down on his own terms. The times where Lamar Jackson has gotten decked and hurt were the times when, again, Lamar Jackson was throwing from the pocket. Those are some of the only times where Lamar Jackson has seen big hits being taken, just like James says here, the Ed Oliver hit, right? So let me just say this again. Jesse Minter said Lamar might run less in Doyle's system. And listen, on the surface, that does sound scary to Ravens fans because historically, when Lamar runs, we win. Go back to 2019. In 2019, Lamar Jackson was averaging, and this seems like a blast from the freaking past, I know, trust me. But Lamar Jackson was averaging over 80 rushing yards per game. And in that year, the Ravens went 14-2. Fast forward to 2023 and 2024, he was then getting around 8 to 9 carries per game and about 50-ish yards a game. And in those years, the Ravens won 13 games and 12 games, respectively. In 2025, he went down to about 5 carries per game, under 30 yards rushing per game. These are all rushing numbers, by the way, guys. And the Ravens went 8-9. And of course, the injuries are factored into that as well. But I say that to say it's not necessarily about Lamar Jackson running more. It's about Lamar Jackson running enough, right? Because here's what people miss. Lamar's legs are not just for yards, like rushing yards. They are, how do you say, like, they put psychological pressure on a defense and a defensive coordinator, right? There is nothing more demoralizing for a defense than covering everything perfectly and still being wrong. Your defense is rushing with discipline. You close every throwing lane. You set the edge on a designed quarterback run. And on the whiteboard, on the X's and O's whiteboard, you win if you're an opposing defensive coordinator. But the thing about Lamar Jackson is that twitchiness, that instant, burst that he has, the ankle snaps that he's gotten so many of over the years. He's collected a lot of ankles, right? Making multiple defenders miss at the same time. And now what you thought as a defensive coordinator was the perfect call to shut down this Lamar Jackson-led offense. Now you just gave up 18 yards. And when I tell you that breaks the back of a defense. So again, it's not about Lamar Jackson necessarily running more like we saw in 2019, 2023, and 2024. It's about him running enough. See, he doesn't need to be up here. Like again, like in 2019, rushing for 80 yards per game. But he definitely doesn't need to be down here, which is where he was in 2025, rushing for sub 30 yards per game. There's a sweet spot. There's a happy medium. There's a happy medium there. And then also, of course, we all know when Lamar Jackson runs, the pass game just opens up because everybody is just absolutely petrified of what Lamar can do with his legs once he gets out of the pocket. So the goal is not like being so Lamar Jackson rushing dependent like in 2019. But it definitely cannot be the disappearance of his rushing attack like we saw in 2025. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. I say the sweet spot is, keeping him at about 8 or 9 carries per game. Maybe half of those being design runs, so you keep the defense honest. And like I said before, when you're in these read option scenarios, the outside linebacker, the edge guy, can't just crash down on Derrick Henry because Lamar Jackson can pull it and get out on the perimeter and hurt you that way. There needs to be a happy medium. It's got to be. Because when you do that, again, it creates doubt. And when you create doubt in a defense, that's when they start to panic, right? Because once the game plan goes out the window and the defense kind of sees it as, okay, every man for himself, we just got to lock in, stop Lamar. Oh, that's when Zay Flowers gets open over the middle, right? And he takes it for a 30, 40-yard gain. Oh, that's when Mark Andrews is running his patented crosser route, and he's open now because you have linebackers staring into the backfield and not carrying Mark Andrews across the field. That's when you have Bateman on a little drag or whatever he's going to catch. Keeping the defense honest like that is all that I'm asking for. So here I am, sudden death. I'm not asking for Lamar Jackson to necessarily run a whole lot more. And I'm not saying that he should necessarily run less. I think that he should run more than he did last season, but less than he did in the earlier years of his career, i.e. 2019 through 2023, basically, and 24. That should be the sweet spot, the 2023 and 2024, to be honest with you. Again, 8 or 9 carries a game. I want about 50 rushing yards. His line Lamar Jackson's Vegas rushing line, week to week, should be no lower than 47.5 rushing yards, I would say, or 45.5 rushing yards. If it's lower than that, there's a problem, because that means we're not utilizing our best weapon. You know, it's just one of those things. Just one of those things. Let me see. Black Daniel says, I appreciate Jesse Minter's immediate attention to needing to protect the playmakers and most notably LJ. For sure. I do like that. I do like that. Attitude Pop says he never said he will never run or do none of that stuff. They just said he's going to do that less and make it easier for him. We need to stop relying on Lamar to be Superman every game and help him out. That I agree with as well. What else we got here? What's going on, Taurus? Appreciate you for coming through. Sudden, he knows exactly who Lamar is. He watched Lamar torch his defense just 2 years ago, says Flagship Fantasy. James says he agrees with me. He doesn't take big hits often. He does not. Let me see. Antonio Williams says the Ravens don't have to call as many design runs for Lamar Jackson anymore, but Lamar should not hesitate to run when it's available. He has an innate ability to evade solid hits. Yeah, and I agree with that too. Because we saw Lamar be a little bit gun shy, right? When it came to, again, just kind of tucking it and running it on some plays. Seemed like he didn't know, like on some times where, he was getting close to the line of scrimmage. Should I take off and run this? Should I pass it? But I think a lot of that had to do with his, injuries to his lower extremities. It was the knee, and it was the ankle, and it was the foot, and it was the calf, and everything. So I know that had a lot to do with it. But again, what I want to see this year is a whole lot more of Lamar Jackson being decisive. And I want to see more design runs. I do. I'm not saying you need to call 7 or 8 of them per game. That's not what I'm saying. However, we do need to see just enough to keep the defense doubting and thinking, right? That's what you got to do. Big Cuz says, is YouTube fixed? I didn't know YouTube was down. Was YouTube down, y'all? I didn't know that. The chat definitely still I figured something was up. I tried starting the stream like the first time and like it just wasn't going through. So I had to like refresh and like restart it. So, and then I didn't see the chat for a little while. I don't know what's up with that, but I don't know. We'll see. Asmodeus, that is, says, I trust what Mentor sees with Lamar. He has seen earlier iterations of Lamar and knows how elusive he can be. Which again, if that's the case, I need to see more of that. 2024 is the balance. Exactly. That's the balance. C Iron. Howdy, partner. Appreciate you for coming through. Shout out to you. Steve-O says teams playing him with a spy, then the DN crashes down the line. Need to take advantage of the spy and the defensive. Yeah. You got to read those guys and you got to attack them. And I think that's something that Declan Doyle, he's got his work cut out for him. I mean, he needs to be working with Lamar from start to finish. And this goes back to the whole OTA conversation and everything like that. I mean, I know what EDC said. I mean, listen, Lamar is a 2-time MVP. I'm going to always say should be 3 times. And he understands what it takes to perform at a high level come September. I get all that, but I need to see Lamar and Declan Doyle on the same page. More so for Declan Doyle's sake than Lamar's sake, if you catch my drift. Let me see what else y'all are saying in here. Stretch 52 says 9 carries a game is about 153 on the season. That's a lot of wear and tear for a quarterback to me, or it's more so about when he runs versus how much he runs. I think it has to do with both, bro. I think it has to do with both. I think how much matters simply because you need to keep the defense honest. And if they're only seeing it maybe once or twice a game, and they know that that's not going to be like at any given moment, something that they have to worry about, I don't know. It's like a boxer, right? Who has insane power in his left hand, right? Have you guys ever heard of Alex Pereira? He's actually an MMA fighter, but have you heard of Alex Pereira? He has insane power in his left hand. When he lands that left hands on dudes, dudes go to sleep. So sometimes it's smart just to feint the left hand. Just act like you're going to throw it, right? Keep your opponent guessing. Utilize your best weapon and keep the opponent honest. But it is also about when he runs as well. It's also about when he runs, Stretch 52. I do agree with that. Sometimes he's got to take off and just go for it. Let me see. Faheezy, what up? Monty, what up? Monty brings up a great point here. Depends on what that O-line is looking like. I totally agree. 100% agree there. Obviously, we know that there's going to be a slight rehaul or overhaul on this offensive line. Most specifically, of course, the right guard spot, with number 77 being a free agent. And with the left guard spot, I don't think that it's going to be Andrew Voorhees' job to lose. I think there's going to be an open competition between Voorhees and Emory Jones. And, the likes of Jesse Minter and Dwayne Ledford and Declan Doyle, they will assess him and see, okay, is he going to be, a serviceable or above serviceable option at left guard? Because like I said before, the reason why those DNs were able to crash down the line of scrimmage and tackle Derrick Henry from behind was because those guys up front, Falele and Voorhees, weren't getting any push. They weren't getting any push. And hell, you could see it the worst times it showed up was in the red zone. When the Ravens were within the 10 and 5-yard line, forget about it. They got through sometimes, but there were too many instances where those guys didn't get nearly enough push. Derrick Henry had to hesitate, and he was brought down from behind. So, Monty, you bring up a great point here. That O-line needs to be, again, I'm going to keep using the word serviceable, because last year, it was out of service. It was out of service. Attitude Pop says, Minter just wants to make it easy for Lamar and take the pressure off of him. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, Lamar's not getting any younger. It's not like he's getting any younger. So I get that too. Take a sip of my water here. Mad Rasta making it rain in the chat with the super chat donation. Appreciate you, brother. Let's see what Mad Rasta has to say here. Can we talk about centers we can draft? So I've heard that this center draft class is very, very deep. And I have actually started to do a little bit of my due diligence on these draft candidates and stuff like that. I'm more so focused on free agency until the smoke kind of settles in free agency. But we will be talking about position by position of need, who the Ravens should draft. We actually had a good episode on Monday with Jason about that. We didn't go too deep because, again, draft season for me is not officially here. I know it's combine right now, but draft season for me is not officially here. And so the dust settles from free agency. That's when here on PRP, we go balls to the wall. For now, Mad Rasta, I would direct you. And as I love to do, to my guy, Coach Evans, Sip to Tally Films. Also my guy, Jason from Huddle It Up Films as well. Coach DC, All 22. For now, they'll show you the tape on what centers are going to be best to bring in. By the way, I believe the Titans released Lloyd Cushenberry earlier today, which is our guy, Coach Sip to Tally Films. That's his favorite. Center in the league, I believe it is. But appreciate that, Matt Rasta. Let me see. The Boulder, what's going on, brother? Says we lose Linderbaum, and we're definitely collecting a 3rd-round draft pick next year. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a good comp pick for sure. Chef Spicy Rice says also nice fit, Sutton. Appreciate that. Faheezy says, do you train MMA, Sutton? No, but I've always wanted to. I just work out, stay in the gym. You know what I mean? But I've always wanted to. Poeton. Appreciate the compliments, y'all. Appreciate the compliments. Appreciate that. Antonio Williams says, I think he had more trepidation about pulling his hamstring than any other injury. That's true, man. Those hamstrings are rough, rough, rough. Be sure, guys, like the video. Like this video if you are enjoying the content. Also, subscribe to the channel as well. Again, this is the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. We just reached over 6,000 subscribers on this channel. Could not have done it without you guys. So I thank you guys so much for that. And we're going to keep it rolling here. We're going to keep it rolling here throughout the entire offseason. Again, free agency is less than 2 weeks away. I think the announcement of Lamar Jackson either getting extended or restructured is only, less than 2 weeks away as well, right? I mean, the Ravens have got to make a move on that. We'll be covering that. And then, of course, after, like I said, after the dust settles from free agency, we're going to dive deep into the draft. Real deep into the draft. But yeah, guys. Antonio Williams says bolstering both the O-line and D-line is paramount. That's for sure. That is for sure. Let me see. Uh-oh. Ashley gifting the membership here in the chat. Appreciate you, Ashley. Ashley is one of the most loyal members of the Rain Gang here. She's in on every episode. She's in on Sudden Reactions in the morning. We had a good episode of that earlier today. She's gifting a membership here. Shout out to Ashley. Let's go ahead and clap it up for her. Yeah. Clap it up for Ashley. Thank you much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ashley. We appreciate that. And Jeremiah was the recipient of that membership. Let me see. Sudden, what's your thoughts on EDC's comments on Marlon Humphrey? I'm not buying it. Financially, it makes zero sense when you can save $9.5 million post June 1 cut. EDC ain't that dumb to keep his number at $18 million for this year. When it comes to Marlon Humphrey, I have been one of the ones on record saying that I think that the Ravens move on from him. As much as the Ravens love to draft and develop corners, and as much as I think that, they have a lot of faith in Nate Wiggins, and then also maybe they bring back Awuzie, maybe they don't. And other guys got to step up too. I mean, you got TJ Tamp. You got a bunch of guys who could step up on this roster. And Marlon Humphrey is clearly over the hill. An $18 million cap hit in a season where, you need to start pulling resources from different places and start allocating them towards your O-line and your D-line, because Jesse Minter said it himself. And if I'm Jesse Minter, again, I'm a defensive guy. I've been proven to be able to get more with less talent. I'm telling him, hey, look, did you not hear what I said yesterday? I mean, this game is built around O-line and D-line. So why would we keep an aging corner who's got an $18 million cap hit, right? Why would we not move off of him, free up some cap space, and we can utilize that same cap space to go towards the defensive line? And if we put that cap space towards the defensive line, that's going to help out whatever young guy corner we have on the back end. The main reason our corners were getting dusted, because like I always say, they had to cover for like 8 to 10 seconds per play. So just financially, schematically, it just doesn't make sense to keep Marlo around. Flagship. That's what I think about Marlon Humphrey. And, I love Marlon Humphrey. I got his jersey and everything. The purple one. It's one of my favorite jerseys, but, you can't be getting burned by Adam Thielen on go routes. You just can't. Right? You can't be getting burned by DK Metcalf, right, in bump and run coverage, which DK Metcalf is a great receiver. Don't get me wrong. But for all pro Marlo, I would expect more. And the Ravens do this thing. They're doing the same thing with Mark Andrews, where they'll move off of a guy a year or two late, as opposed to doing it a year early. And I think they largely do this sort of stuff out of loyalty and love and friendship, right? And I see some people saying move Marlon Humphrey to safety. And see, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that, but I don't even really trust Marlon Humphrey on an island like that. I don't trust him on an island either. I just think it's time to move on, and that's okay. He can't play man, but he can play center field for us. He could, but again, for that cap hit, I think it's better. It's better we go ahead and we let him go, right? And we really don't need another safety either. So, is what it is. Is what it is. Marlo take a big pay cut and be safety number 3. Yeah. I'm not getting rid of the guy that gets the football on defense. Marlon Humphrey, one thing about Marlo last year especially, he did have that forced fumble against, I can't remember exactly who, but that forced fumble, that was nice. And he got a couple of picks, right? But those picks were more of like a right time, right place sort of thing. And you tip your cap for being in the right spot. But a lot of those picks were gift wrapped. You know, it's not like he's jumping routes, like he's mirroring guys on routes and jumping routes and, running their route for him and going and getting the ball. That wasn't really him. We're talking about like tip passes, and he just happens to be right there and it falls right in the breadbasket. That happened at least 2 or 3 times this past season. And if anything, I think that would raise the trade value on him. Just saying. It raises his value. But we saw what happened. We were all at the games. Or we were all watching the games. He gets banged up a lot too now, yeah, for sure. Taking the ball is worth money. That's true. That's true. Lardarius Webb played cornerback and safety for the Ravens. That's true, for sure. Shout out to Lardarius Webb, man. I miss that guy. Miss a lot of the older Ravens. Again, don't forget to join the Rain Gang, like and sub. Marlo is our biggest play defender, even though he's been in the right place at the right time a lot of times. Big play defender. That's debatable, bro. That's debatable. I don't know if I can get down with that take, bro. I just don't know. Again, right place, right time is cool, but I need to see more. Let me see here. What else do we got? Okay. Oh, yeah. YouTube was down. That's crazy. I'm seeing it now. That's wild. What up, Zeke? But okay, here we go. Listen, guys, I am going to go ahead and cut the stream short tonight. I am. I only really wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about Lamar Jackson and whether or not he should run more or less. And again, the conclusion that I came to is that he doesn't necessarily need to run more than what he did early in his career. He doesn't need to run less than what he did last year. He needs to be somewhere in that happy medium. If you look at, again, the 2023 and 2024 season, about 8 to 9 carries per game, some of those being designed runs to keep the defense honest. I think that game plan would be most conducive to, again, a 30 points per game offense. That's me. Before I get out of here, a couple more things. My guy AJ is in the chat. What up, AJ? AJ says, yo, do you think Lamar is showing up to OTAs this year? I wouldn't bet on it. I'm a betting man, and I would not bet on that because I don't think he's going to show. I think he'll show for maybe the first day or 2 maybe, but he's not going to be there the whole time. Do I think he should? Yes. And I said it earlier in the stream. I think he should do that more so for his first year offensive coordinator. Declan Doyle, who is 29 years old, first time calling plays. You got to get on the same page. Again, for his sake, more than Lamar's sake. We know Lamar is fully capable of missing the entire OTAs. Hell, Lamar could probably miss training camp and just show up week 1 and ball out. We know that. But it's a team sport for a reason. It's a team sport. Flagship says Keon Martin is going to take a jump, and he showed a ton of promise to be that third guy. I agree. Keon Martin, he had some moments last season where, he made some big, like, game altering plays, like some really clutch plays for such a young player. Let me see. What up, God's favorite? He's the only guy. Marl's the only guy on our defense that gets interceptions. Again, even though he's been at the right place at the right time. I also think that has to do with scheme too. I think that has to do with scheme. Once we see Jesse Minter get in here and, start to tweak some things, I think we start to see Nate Wiggins playing a lot more press coverage, him starting to mirror guys on their routes and jump routes like we know he can do. I think you start to see a lot of chaos being caused by all the confusion up front. He's going to be rolling safeties down. Kyle Hamilton is going to be screaming after the quarterback. It's going to cause some errant throws. Those turnovers are going to open up this season for a lot of different guys. A lot of different guys. I think the wealth will be spread when it comes to turnovers. Miss Fancy Pants, what up, says no one else caught the easy one, Sutton. I think there's something to be said for actually capitalizing on right place, right time. Then there is. Don't get me wrong, there is. Don't get me wrong, there is. However, again, I think he's just lost a couple of steps. And he's not getting any younger. So it's hard to trust him in man coverage. I like him more in zone, but in man coverage, man, I mean, which I see the Ravens running a lot more of this upcoming season. Man coverage, and then when they run zone, a lot of cover 3. But either way, I mean, he's going to be the guy. A lot of times you see him lined up in the slot, getting physical down there with whoever's there. But sometimes he's guarding the X receiver as well. And I just don't trust him in either of those roles, at least for long stretches of time through the season. I just don't, Let me see. He always shows for new coordinators. AJ says, word I heard that y'all knew OC was talking a little spicy in his presser. Not really spicy. I mean, he said what he said. He spoke the truth. Like, if you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to work a little bit harder than the next guy. Everybody in the NFL is talented as hell. Everybody's got professionals playing for them. You know what I'm saying? You guys hear Ace in the background. He's always saying hello on stream. And I guess there's somebody at our door right now. But yeah. I think Declan Doyle had every right to say what he said. He had every right to say that. Every right to say that. He shows up the first year with the OC to get acclimated with teammates, Giro and Monk. Yeah, but did he stay the entire time? Did he stay the entire time? I don't know. But I think he needs to. I think he needs to this time around. But all right, listen, guys. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. I appreciate y'all for coming through. As always, man, I could not do this show without each and every one of y'all coming through, supporting the channel, liking the videos, subscribing as well. It all does so much for us here. All of you guys who donate, who send the super chat donations, I cannot thank you enough. And you guys have truly been a blessing in my life, and that's why I will not stop relentlessly delivering this content to you guys, even though we are in the dead of the off season. There is something always to talk about, and you can rest assured your boy will be here talking about it. And me and Alex on Mondays and Thursdays as well. So definitely catch us tomorrow. We will be covering the latest and greatest in the Real Housewives of the Baltimore Ravens. But until then, like we always say, stay positive, test negative, like this video, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. Been another episode of Quiet Storm Sports. We're going to catch you guys in the next video. Peace.